Welcome to Toastmasters. My name is Ray Lapalkin, and today we have two guests from the Carrick, PA Club here in Pittsburgh. First, I'd like to introduce Carolyn Krakowski on the end. Carolyn has been with Toastmasters for over 4 years now, and she served as District Public Relations Manager, Area 35 Governor, and other various club officer roles. She's currently the Vice President of Education for our Toastmasters Club here in Carrick, which is called Carrick, PA. And I'd like to add also, Carolyn is the founder of that club.
Yes.
So welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks for having us.
And seated next to me is Lisa Young. Lisa also has been in Toastmasters for several years, and she is one of the original charter members of the Carrick, PA Club. And she's currently Vice President of Public Relations and Membership in our Carrick Toastmasters Club. So welcome.
Thanks, Ray.
Sure. Carolyn, why don't we start with you? Do you want to give us just an overview of what Toastmasters is?
Sure. Toastmasters is a worldwide organization that helps people with communication and leadership skills. One of the things that is kind of amazing about Toastmasters is there's over 100,000 clubs in over 140 countries. So it's really nice because you're a part of a much larger organization. The program itself is a learn by doing type of atmosphere. So there's not an instructor that's teaching you how to be a better communicator and leader. You're relying on your peers and you progress as you want throughout the program.
And you had mentioned it's a learning process, and there's two different manuals you use. One is the Competent Communicator Manual right here. Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. The Competent Communicator Manual has 10 speeches that you work through, and each one of them, an example is, the first one is the icebreaker, so just breaking the ice when you get up and do your speech. The next one builds upon the icebreaker and teaches you about organizing your speech. And then after that one, get to the point, tells you how to get to the point when you're giving a speech. How to say it, that's another one. Each speech has guidelines. Your body speaks. It will teach you how to use your body language when you talk. There's one with vocal variety. Research your topic. Do something on something that you don't know anything about, or even getting comfortable with visual aids. And persuasion, speech about persuasion, and the last final one is to inspire your audience. So each speech builds upon the other one and helps you to do your last inspire your audience speech and use all of the things that you've learned throughout.
Okay, so when you complete all that, in a sense, you graduate and go on to another level. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's how it works. I just actually got my Competent Communicator Award, and I have 2 advanced manuals where there's speeches in those manuals to do. And you get to pick, there's a lot of manuals to pick from, so you get to pick from those manuals.
Okay. And then Carolyn, the other manual and it's the other aspect of Toastmasters is the Competent Leadership Manual right here. Do you want to explain to us about that?
Sure. The Competent Leadership Manual is, of course, designed to help people become better leaders. One of the things that I really like about this manual is that it's divided much like the Communication Manual. It will list skills that are essential of an effective leader, but it gives you a self-evaluation to kind of see where you are. So each skill has an area that you would fill out and you would circle and rate yourself. And then when you perform the role, in the Competent Leadership Manual, you're performing roles at the meeting, such as being a Toastmaster, a timer, a grammarian, you get evaluated on it by your peers. So it's kind of a nice tool to say, you know, gee, I think I'm really good at this, when you rate yourself and then get that feedback from everyone else to kind of either reinforce it or find out areas where you need to improve. Some of the other things in the Competent Leadership Manual include helping with a special event. So it can be within the club, such as an open house, speech contest. There's other areas to mentor a new member with some of their first speeches or projects. Once you complete the Competent Leadership Manual, just like the communication, there's 10 projects. Once you complete that, then there's also district and other opportunities for you to advance with your leadership role. So one of them is serving as a club officer. You can also serve as a district officer. You can also you do a club success plan, which helps with strategic planning. So there's lots of areas, and it's a nice learn by doing type of process.
Yeah, it's definitely a process of learning and growing, a nice step-by-step plan. Wonderful. Lisa, why don't we start with you? Why did you join, or why did you get involved with Toastmasters?
I joined Toastmasters to be more confident when I get up and speak in front of people. Another thing is there's a lot of good leadership opportunities in Toastmasters. As a matter of fact, I finished the leadership manual before I did my competent communicator manual. And I also like the speeches. I like listening to the speeches and learning about other people. There's a lot of interesting people in our club, and everybody has a different story to tell, and that's what I enjoy.
Carolyn?
When I started Toastmasters, I really didn't want to because I had an extreme fear of not just public speaking, but just anywhere where there was a group and I might be asked a question. And so it was both a dread and a physical fear of it. So I figured I would try to see what Toastmasters was about, and it was one of the things, like Lisa said, it was really great people. They were a lot of fun. I was learning things, and so I sort of started to do the learning process just based on enjoying the atmosphere. So it's been a great experience just being able to kind of overcome that fear that I had that was very just so limiting because you were, for me, I didn't want to be in any trainings, any meetings, anything where people might want to have to call on me, or I thought they would. So it's just been just great to kind of overcome that hurdle and just meet so many great people in the process.
Yeah, I've heard all different stories of why people joined, and it's really has a large variety. Some people join just as a hobby. They just enjoy doing it. Like your club meets on Saturday morning. People are free on Saturdays, and just to go out and make friends and meet new people, they do as a hobby. And some of you, as you said, have joined for professional reasons. Perhaps they're a supervisor or a manager at their work, and they have to get up and hold meetings and speak to a dozen or more people, so they're able to gain confidence in working with their staff at work. I've even heard people talk about how it's helped in their relationship with their spouse or their children, because part of the skills I think we're learning in the Toastmasters is evaluating and listening. It's not just speaking, but listening. So you can listen to your children, you can listen to your spouse, and then you can respond. So there's a lot of skills that you can develop in this.
And if I could add, one of the things that is nice with the advanced manuals, there's things like technical presentations or speeches by management, but for some of those people that professionally do speak a lot, we have humorously speaking, interpretive reading, things that may not be like their normal everyday presentation. So even someone that does it regularly can just try something different with the manuals, and they seem to like that as well.
Lisa, what other kind of professions can benefit then from the Toastmasters?
All professions can benefit from Toastmasters. Even if you were a cook and you wanted to have a cooking show, you could benefit from Toastmasters. I definitely think in the field that I'm in, I work for a company and I do security risk assessments, and I'm always having to give presentations to the people that request the assessments, so it's good to have the skills to be able to do that and speak to the upper management in the organization.
Okay, what types of clubs are there? You had mentioned earlier there are different types of clubs.
There are professional clubs that are open to any person regardless of where they work. There's some company-specific clubs. So for example, a company may sponsor a club that meets on-site at their location, which is restricted then to employees of that company. There's also community clubs, which is what ours is, which is open to everyone. And the community clubs have a more, they may not meet during the day, they may meet at night, so they might have a more social feel. Perhaps they meet at a restaurant or some other place where it's not as rigid. So there's all different types, and depending on your learning style, one might be better for you and more comfortable.
Okay. Lisa, you mentioned before about all the different varieties of people who join, but what do you enjoy about Toastmasters, about being there?
I enjoy interacting with everybody. I just really enjoy people. I like talking to the people, and as I stated, the speeches that I've heard, I love listening to the speeches, and I learn from everybody's speech, even your diamond speech that you gave, and I know that's going to be on this channel, and everybody should watch that. It was a good, informative speech and very interesting.
Carolyn?
I think I enjoy just learning new things. I'm not one to sit down and be able to have the time to read a lot of books. So I can kind of get that education piece and have that learning atmosphere based on what other people are sharing about their lives. And I think people take for granted that, oh, this is something I do every day, you know, it's nothing big. But for the rest of the group, this is something new and it's something exciting and it's something they want to learn about. So that's definitely what I enjoy about it.
We had mentioned in the introduction that people have different responsibilities within the club, and Lisa, you're Vice President of Public Relations and Membership, both. Wow, you're doing two jobs. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Well, for Vice President membership, I spend time trying to get members and recruit people to join the club. I tell people about the club always when I'm out. I'm always inviting everybody to join. So, and I think, you know, some people come whenever I invite them. But it's been interesting with being the Vice President of membership. And then public relations came in, and I started helping with, you know, setting up a LinkedIn account, helping with advertising on all the accounts, Facebook, LinkedIn, maybe not so much Twitter. Carolyn handles that. I don't tweet much. But so I do a lot of things around that for public relations.
And Carolyn, you're Vice President of Education. What does that entail?
Vice President of Education is actually my favorite role. I've held several in the past, and the education piece is to assist the new members as well as current members, as well as returning members with their education goals. So someone might be in it for Toastmasters, they might join just to, you know, they want something to do and maybe they're retired and they want to share their stories. So their goal might be completely different for someone who's trying to get a promotion and they need to get better at public speaking because they're going to need to present in their role. So that's what my job is, to just tailor the program, since it's self-guided, you know, just find out here's how you can make it what you need. And so that's where my role is. And I wanted to add also to Lisa with the membership is that oftentimes there is, for our charter period, we had to get at least 20 members. And one of the things that we do to encourage new members, or the reason I should say, is because the more the merrier. It helps people. Lisa obviously is doubling up on officer roles because we didn't have enough people that wanted to do it. So the same goes for our meeting role. The more people we have, the larger the pool that we have to, you know, to pick from for the different meeting roles and make it successful. I think it also helps because, at least for me, I don't really want to see the meeting become a chore. You know, like, oh, I have to go because I have to do this role and that role. I really still want to keep it fun. And I think as Vice President of Education, I also want to make that fun for the members so that they continue to come. So that was one of the reasons why having a larger group helps with that.
Okay.
And I have to add that Carolyn does a great job as the education role. If I ask her, Carolyn, what did I do? You sent me an email. I forgot what I did. Can you resend that? And Carolyn sends it over. But she helps keep us on track and tries to help set goals with all the members, which I really like.
And that must be challenging too, because everybody's on all different levels.
Absolutely.
So everybody's on, as Lisa said, she's going to a new manual now. So people are in different manuals, different levels within the manual. You have people starting and people who've been there months, maybe years. So
And I think it's also challenging because, especially when you're newer, whether you're newer to Toastmasters or the particular club, you tend to look at everyone around you to see, well, how do you do this role, or how's it supposed to be done? And in some cases, that can put you in a rut. So if people are sharing their stories about what they did this weekend and they're making it fun and they're going through the manual, but they're more about activities versus a professional work related, sometimes you need to help people and say, you know what, if you want us, we can pretend to be hostile and not pay attention to you while you're speaking, because maybe distraction is something that they have an issue with. If someone walks in late to a meeting, they completely lose it. I mean, those are all the things that us as members in the audience while they're presenting can kind of role play with them just to make it more effective. And sometimes people need to know that that's possible.
Yeah. You had mentioned a little earlier about people might be retired who are in Toastmasters, but it must cover all age groups because you said there's a young club too for youngsters.
Yes.
What is that?
The club that we actually have one at Toastmasters Carrick, PA, and it's called a Gavel Club. A Gavel Club is for youth 18 and under, for people that are also unemployed, they can have a gavel club, perhaps at a senior citizens, high rise. So anything like that. For ours, the gavel club means for the kids. We open it for grades 6 through 12, and they're working on the same manuals and kind of getting the same place. And it's really been amazing to see how much. I've worked with a couple of the students for almost 2 years now, and it's to see how they improve and how comfortable they are from where they first started. I mean, it's just awe-inspiring, really.
Yeah, I really would like to make an appeal to the parents for the Gavel Club, because a lot of times the parents are very excited when you talk about it, because as a student, let's say you're in middle school or high school, you're not always that interested in getting up in front of a group. But as you get into college, you have to start giving more presentations, or you get into your profession, you have to give more meetings or presentations or organize meetings. The Toastmasters or the Gavel Club for the youngsters is really beneficial, and when the parents hear about it, they get excited and they want to send their kids. So I think that's how some of the children have, I shouldn't say children, but middle school and high school kids have come. Absolutely. Probably from their parents initiating
Just as a funny note, the first program we had for the youth, I asked, well, what made you decide to come? And everybody said, my parents made me. Yeah. But it's nice to see now how they enjoy it. And we also let them know that once, a lot of us waited till we were in our 30s, 40s, or even later to get comfortable speaking in front of a group. And we share a lot of our personal stories with the youth to let them know, when you can memorize a speech, you can learn how to do PowerPoint, but you really, once you have that confidence that you can get up there and you're not afraid at all, it's going to open a lot of doors. So.
And isn't the Gavel Club like in partnership with the Pittsburgh Public Schools? Yes. As well as like a mentoring program?
Yes, so we are a community partner.
So probably the goal or the hope is to get that into the Pittsburgh Public Schools. So for any parents out there,
yes,
send your kids, give them a call. If you're noticing, we're putting our email address up and a phone number, so please get in touch with us. And whether you want to come or you'd like your children to get involved, we'd be happy to have you.
And it's actually a nice parent-child bonding experience because they do use the same manuals in the adult program as they do in the youth. So it's kind of, if it's something that a parent was struggling with, they can send their child and sort of have a practice session and work from the same books, which is actually kind of a neat thing to do.
That would be, yes. Mm-hmm. Why don't we talk about a typical meeting? What takes place at a typical meeting? Don't you put on an agenda, right?
Yes, we do.
Week? And do you want to start that?
Sure. We post the agendas. We actually have sign-ups that people can sign up in advance. And what we do is the week prior, we confirm all the rules. We start out with a theme for the meeting, which kind of helps us, maybe something that's going on, whether it's personally, whether it's
a holiday.
Right. We pick a theme to kind of make it fun. And then the person that leads the meeting is the Toastmaster. And they're responsible for just setting the tone of the meeting. This is one thing that I worked on just with the youth when they come in and they're like, okay, it's come on, raise up next. And then they sit down. That really doesn't engage all of us. So one of the things that the Toastmaster is there to set the tone, to smile, to greet people when they come in, to share a little bit of their story as it relates to the theme, and to just make them comfortable.
They're like the MC of the meeting,
right?
Right, okay. And then the next step would be the Topics Master. Lisa, do you want to talk about what the Topics Master does? There's a thought of the day?
Yeah, the Topics Master will have a thought of the day, and along with that thought, they also may have a word of the day. And then when it comes to later on in the meeting, they'll have a place where they'll do table topics where you have to get up and you have to speak off the cuff. So you'll have to do, one to two minute mini speeches based on a question that somebody asks. And I think that is one of the funnest parts of the meeting. Our recent meeting that we had such a great time, and we all were laughing about, I think the topic was with slogans, and it was slogans, and they would say a slogan, and you would have to guess the product and then try to sell that product to the audience, and it was really fun. We all laughed. I enjoyed that part of the meeting.
And another thing is done also with the thought of the day. Sometimes you use a word of the day, and then
Right.
you try to use that word
Yeah.
somewhere in your presentation later that day. So that's a lot of fun. And again, it gets the mind thinking, and it's challenging, and it's good practice to do that.
Absolutely.
And then you actually get it to the speakers. So how many speakers do you usually have?
We have typically 2 or 3 speakers. We can go up to 4. Sometimes we have 1 if it's a longer speech. At the Competent Communicator Manual, most speeches are about 5 to 7 minutes. When you get into the advanced manual, some of the speeches can be 25 to 40 minutes, almost like a session. So we allow for time so that people aren't looking at their watches waiting to go, so we kind of adjust that. But typically it's at least 2 speakers, and these are prepared speeches where they have an objective in the manual that they're trying to fulfill, and they also have questions that they're going to be evaluated on, so they want to look at those to make sure that they're, performing the rules of the project.
And then not just speaking skills people are learning, but you're also learning to evaluate the speeches. So the next title in the agenda is the General Evaluator. Do you want to explain about the General Evaluator, Lisa?
Right, so the general evaluator is the Toastmaster for the second half of the meeting, and what they do is they introduce the evaluators who will be evaluating the speeches that were given, and they'll introduce all the next topics that are coming up in the meeting. That's what the general evaluator does.
And then, Carolyn, the evaluator themselves has criteria that they're looking at also, correct?
Correct. They have the criteria within the book, whatever communication book that the person's using. And one of the things, though, I do want to point out that makes Toastmasters so successful is often if you attend a class, a presentation class, or you're in school for it, like the youth are, they tend to say, okay, here's what you need to do right. You need to change this because it's not correct right now. Whereas in Toastmasters, we are working to build people's confidence as they're becoming better communicators and leaders. And so our evaluations focus on the things that you've done well. And then depending on the comfort level of the speaker, they might ask just for 1 or 2 areas of improvement. Someone that's more comfortable getting feedback might say, give me everything I did wrong. But it tends to take a while for people to kind of feel that. So it's a nice thing. I can remember when I did my first icebreaker and I was dreading, I don't think I did anything right and I just want to sit down. And it was very nice to hear people say things like, you made eye contact, we could hear you, you didn't fidget, like all those things that you just kind of discard when you're thinking about yourself and how well you did on it. So it's really nice to hear from other people, and that's why I think it makes things very successful in our evaluations.
Good. And then another responsibility is timer. I guess it's kind of self-explanatory. So someone actually times
Yes.
the speech. You said most are 5 to 7. Some of the latter speeches, I guess, as you get a little advanced, can be a little bit longer.
Right.
And then sometimes, I think you had a speech once where it was like a question and answer.
Correct.
As well. That can be in addition to your speech.
And those can all be timed. And it's a good way to, people get to meetings where they run over. And so this is a way to kind of train that as well. Certainly if you go over, they don't yank you off the front. We let people finish. But it's just a way to be mindful of your audience's time commitment, to be there with you.
And you show little cards,
Green,
colored cards too.
just like a stop sign, green,
Yep.
yellow, and red.
And red when
But
you're
there's
done.
also apps that you can use.
That's true.
Toastmaster has apps, and you can put an app on your phone, and it'll have the green, yellow, red
Okay.
for the timer.
It's a
There's
great way to
lot of-
practice.
Yeah, there's a lot of little Toastmaster apps
Okay.
out there.
And another responsibility is grammarian.
Yes.
Oh, the dreadful grammarian. The so's, the ahs, the ums.
So someone will actually count.
Yes.
They count
They
them.
try to count. Sometimes it gets a little high. But they do at least give feedback. I think it's something that we don't always realize we're doing. So it's good to kind of hear someone say, well, you said this in front of every word or after every sentence. And,
Okay.
it's good to know.
And then the next responsibility, the general evaluator comes back and provides evaluation of the meeting and the speakers. It's kind of summing everything up
Correct.
at the end. Toastmaster comes back on again, offers the guests an opportunity to speak, and closes the meeting. That sounds like fun. About how long are the meetings?
They're typically about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. We do have up to an hour and 45 minutes of time, so it's nice because if we are enjoying table topics or socializing after, we're not, kicked out of the room. There's plenty of time to talk, but typically our meetings are around an hour and 15.
And do you want to tell us then of the meeting time and place then for the Carrick PA meeting?
Yes. Well, our Carrick PA, I just want to explain, we typically meet at the Carrick Library, but it'll be going under renovations for about a year. So we have a temporary location at the Carnegie Library, Pittsburgh, Knoxville location, which is newly renovated, so it's nice to be there with everything.
It's also on Brownsville Road.
It is. It's at 400 Brownsville Road, and our meetings are on Saturdays, the 1st and 3rd of every month. The Toastmasters Club starts at 10:15, and the Gavel Club goes from noon until 12:50.
Okay, so it's just following the...
Correct.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Anything to say in closing? Appreciate you coming on, and
Yeah, it's a great club. Everybody out there should join. Come to a meeting, visit us. We welcome new people all the time.
yeah, just as a guest to come and watch as an observer is fine.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. And you
Right.
had mentioned in the past too that the Carrick PA Club is very casual. A lot of the clubs, I think you said, are more professional. People are in suit and ties because they might be at work, but
Right.
this is kind of a, I don't say blue jean flannel shirt, but
But we allow you to do the rest of your activities for Saturday. So
It's
if
a
you have
Saturday
errands
casual,
planned,
yeah.
you can start out at Toastmasters and then keep going, and it would work out fine.
Great, okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Again, Saturday mornings, 10:15, the first and third Saturday of every month at the Knoxville Library on Brownsville Road. The Gavel Club, please, for the parents, please bring your children and see what that's about. If you look at the bottom of the screen and after the credits, you'll see the website for our Toastmasters Club and Facebook account and phone number as well. Please get in touch with us if you have any questions, and thank you for joining us today.